What's up YouTube, and welcome back to another episode of Supercross Showdown. These predictions are getting a little difficult, especially with the results we're having. There's no dominant rider in either class. So I think I'm going to switch it up and we're going to start doing our predictions just on the podium so that someone can win the Lead helmet way easier. I mean, we've had 4 different red blade holders in the 250 East class. And then obviously we know how stacked the 450 class is, and that's already in itself really difficult to get an exact 5 rider prediction. So moving forward from now, we're just going to be doing our podium picks. Starting with our 250 East highlights, Hayden and Tom came out with the whole shot. I don't really know who whole shot. They both crossed the whole shot line together, but at the end of the rhythm section, Hayden made his way to the front. Seth didn't have another good night. He ended up going down in the whoops. He did get up and try and ride again, but he later retired from the race. McAdoo didn't have the best of starts, but he made his way back to the front and got to the back of Tom, made his way past Tom, and then Hayden had like a 3 to 4 second gap already. He couldn't bridge that gap to Hayden, so I think Hayden was just managing his lead. But we definitely have a faster, healthier Deegan, which is dangerous, and I'm sure he's going to be doing everything he can to bring it to McAdoo. He's going to need to take the wins at the East-West Showdowns and probably have some riders in between him and McAdoo, but at least for us it's going to be super entertaining, so it should be a good watch. With that, our overall 250 East was Deegan, McAdoo and Vial rounding out the podium. Moving on to the 450 main, Webb came out with a stellar start. He had been on the gas all day, so it only made sense to see him up front early. Jet, who's a really good starter, didn't have the greatest of starts. He came together with Malcolm Stewart, which put him at the back of the pack. Tomac lost the rear end in the beginning of the race, but picked it up in front of Jet, who didn't stay behind him for too long. He made his way past Tomac, and they had a little battle going on, and they nearly had an incident, the same as Barcia and Jet. Jet cut down in the berm, and Tomac luckily anticipated that, and they avoided that collision. Kenny and Chase were having an epic battle. Ken and Chase obviously being mates. Sexton didn't want to make the aggressive pass on Kenny, which I think with this track you had to make an aggressive pass. So he ended up staying behind Kenny way too long, and he definitely showed the speed to beat Cooper. Towards the tail end of the race, Chase made the pass on Kenny and had a little run at Cooper, but that wasn't enough. And Coop came in with the clutch dub. It's so Cooper Webb to start making these clutch wins towards the end of the season. He's now tied with Jet in the championship, so it's also getting super interesting these last few rounds, which just adds to our Supercross entertainment. So with that, our overall 450 was Webb, Sexton, and Kenny rounding out the podium. Starting with our 250 East-West Showdown in Nashville. Obviously, it's a lot harder now because we have East and West together. We only need to pick our podium, as I said earlier in the video. So without further ado, I'm going with Hayden as my first place pick. He's got, basically, he has to win and put riders in between him and McAdoo. So he's going to do everything he can. I think an obvious second place would be Kitchen. We all know the boy's cooking in the kitchen. A second place would be a solid result for him, as he's basically just managing the championship against RJ. But rounding out the podium, now it's also tricky because now there's not that many riders that you can choose because you're only picking the podium. So I think a Hayden Kitchen or McAdoo, RJ or McAdoo podium sounds like a good pick for me. I think I'm going to go with RJ for third. And that's my podium for this weekend in Nashville. Don't forget to put your podium picks in the comments and have a chance at winning that Lead helmet. I definitely want to give the helmet away, so if we can get some predictions in the comments, that would be very helpful. Otherwise, I'm going to have to think of another way to give away this helmet. Let's move on to the 450 picks. Moving on to our 450 predictions, I think this should be a little bit easier as we already have an idea of who our podium riders are. There's probably 5 that we can pick from. It would probably be Webb, Sexton, Roxon, Tomac, and Lawrence. So for this weekend's race, I'm gonna go with Jet in first. I think Jet and Cooper are gonna have a battle, which would be sick to see. I'm gonna put Cooper second, and then rounding out the podium, I'm gonna go with Chase. Hopefully we get closer to these results. Those are my picks. Don't forget to put your picks in the comments. And hopefully we get some dope-ass racing this weekend, especially with that East-West showdown. I'm sure there's gonna be lank dramas. Until next week, peace out, yo. 2, 3, 4.